Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a deeply sobering but honestly incredibly fascinating piece of 17th century Japanese history. We're looking at a system of societal exclusion that was so unbelievably rigid it literally transcended life, death, and even centuries of legal reform. We are exploring the harsh reality of Japan's lowest caste. And to help us visualize this, we're going to follow a consistent 2D stickman character through his entire life journey. So let's just get right into it.
It's a pretty heavy question, right? But look at our character here, just 2 years old. He's already survived the severe fevers that took his older sister. But in this 17th century village, surviving might actually be the cruelest fate of all. See, he's born into a bloodline that the local priests deem polluted. He isn't impure enough for the gods to strike him down, sure, but he's considered far too impure to ever stand alongside other men. He is totally trapped on the absolute edge of a village that actively pretends he doesn't even exist. Every day, his father leaves before dawn to do work that makes samurai literally cover their mouths and turn their horses around in disgust. By the time our boy reaches age 4, he's starting to notice the bizarre rules of his world. For instance, he goes with his mother to the rice merchant. The merchant absolutely refuses to take coins directly from his mother's hand. No way. Instead, he forces her to place her money on a wooden plank, and he only picks the coins up after she has physically backed away. His mother tells him never to pass the bamboo fence at the edge of their hamlet, warning him about bad spirits. But looking at the villagers across that fence, our protagonist is starting to realize a really painful truth. The bad spirits, well, they all have human faces. One morning at age 5, curiosity just gets the better of him. He slips past that bamboo fence and follows his father's daily path. And the smell hits him first. It's this heavy, iron stink of blood and burning. He arrives at a dry riverbed yard and sees men with arms stained red all the way to the elbow, scraping hides and kneeling beside horse carcasses. And then he sees his own father driving a blade between a horse's ribs. That night, his father stops lying to him and teaches him one absolutely crucial word: kegare, defilement. It's the physical and spiritual stain that clings to anything that touches death. His father sits him down and explains the super strict hierarchy of Tokugawa Japan. So there are 4 official classes. You have the samurai who rule, the farmers who feed them, the artisans who build, and the merchants who trade. Now, if you're scanning this list trying to see where our boy fits in, actually, don't bother. You won't find him. He is completely missing from this official map. Instead, he belongs to an unmapped 5th category beneath those official 4 classes. They're called the Eta, and that word literally translates to an abundance of filth. Our protagonist asks if he can be something else, anything else, when he grows up, but his father's answer seals his fate: no. You see, the temple registers his name at birth in these paper records kept in wooden boxes, and those paper registers, they never forget. No samurai will let him work their land. No woman outside the walls will ever marry him. The law that makes him Eta makes his children Eta forever. Let's track his timeline for a second. At age 8, his grueling training begins. He's scraping fat from hides until his knuckles literally bleed, plunging his raw hands into vats of urine and brain matter day after day. It's brutal. By age 12, his father hands him a knife. A samurai's retainer has brought them a crippled horse, because remember, a samurai cannot touch this kind of death. His father warns him, the owner is watching from the road. If our boy flinches, the samurai will bring violent retribution to their entire yard. So he angles the blade, finds the artery on the first try, and kills his first horse without a single flinch. His childhood is just completely gone. This next part starkly illustrates the horrific hypocrisy of the whole system. By age 15, our character is highly skilled. He crafts these beautiful, pristine, black lacquered leather scales for samurai armor. The armor for the very people who would have his hands cut off if he ever dared touch their food. One afternoon, a young samurai arrives to collect his gear. But instead of taking the bundle from our protagonist's hands, the samurai just gestures to the dirt. Our guy has to place this perfect, pristine armor in the dust and step back 5 paces before the samurai will even dismount to retrieve it. And then he just rides away, wearing the armor our character's hands made, while treating the craftsman like some infectious, contaminated surface. Fast forward to age 18, and the summons come. A peasant has been caught stealing rice and sentenced to death. A drinking samurai is performing the execution, but he needs hands to do the dirty work he doesn't want to do himself. So our character's job is to hold the condemned prisoner's shoulders to make sure he doesn't move and botch the cut. Kneeling there in the dirt, he can feel the prisoner violently shaking through his clothes. For those final terrifying seconds, the two of them are connected in this profoundly intimate way. The blade comes down and he literally feels the prisoner's body just leave itself. He has to carry the body to an unconsecrated field alongside another Ida apprentice, a guy named Sichi. On the walk back, Sichi just stops. He turns his hands palm up and stares at them, shaking. There's no blood on them, but the psychological trauma is just profound. They look at each other, and neither of them says a single word. And that silence holds for the next 20 years. But you know what the most horrifying realization is? That night, his mother cooks dinner, and he eats it with the exact same hands that just held a dying man. And the rice tastes exactly the way rice has always tasted, as he realizes that is somehow the absolute worst part. Life just goes on.
Moving into adulthood now. At 26, the elders arrange a marriage to a woman named Misaki, whose hands share his exact same stains. 3 years later, they have a son. Our protagonist is holding this baby in hands that have killed horses and held dying men, and he's just looking at his son's perfectly clean, pure skin. But one afternoon, while watching his boy become fascinated with his own little fingers, this crushing realization hits him. The physical stain isn't on his son's skin yet, but it's already permanently recorded in those temple registers. The boy is already condemned. We jump forward to when our character is 38. His old friend Sichi, completely broken by years of this grim work, is assisting at another execution. But the samurai's hand is unsteady, and he completely botches the cut, severely slicing Sichi's arm from elbow to wrist. Obviously, Sichi cries out in pain. But the samurai isn't ashamed of his own mistake. No, he's just angry that he was embarrassed by an eita. And this brings us to a terrifying law known as Kirasute Gomen. It's the samurai's legal right to instantly cut down any commoner who shows disrespect. He executes Sichi on the spot, simply for making a sound while bleeding. And our character just has to stand at the edge of the clearing and watch his only friend die, entirely unable to do a thing. A decade later, our character is 49, and his own son is 12. That's the exact age he was when he killed his first horse. He walks his son to the yard and hands him the curved blade. His son's fingers close around the handle. And he doesn't flinch. He doesn't ask any questions. He just bends to the hide and begins the gruesome work. That night, his wife Misaki says quietly, "He didn't cry." Our protagonist agrees. She replies, "That's worse, isn't it?" And he just nods. The cycle of trauma has successfully and tragically hardened the next generation. Finally, at age 55, our character is working in the yard when he feels something suddenly tear inside his chest. He collapses in the dirt. His son drops his blade, runs over, and kneels in the dust, putting his hands firmly over his father's shoulders. It perfectly mirrors the exact way our protagonist held that dying prisoner 37 years earlier. As his son holds him, he feels his own body leave itself. The heavy iron smell of the tanning yard is the very last thing he ever experiences. His son marries him in an unconsecrated field with no marker and no priest. Now, you might think, okay, that's it. That's where the story of the Eita ends. But here is the most astonishing part of this whole history. 200 years after our character's death, we hit the year 1871. The Tokugawa class system officially ends. By imperial decree, the Eita are legally emancipated. The caste system is totally abolished. On paper, they are finally free. But remember those temple registers? The ones kept in wooden boxes in the back rooms? Yeah, those registers were never actually destroyed. The paper curse just went underground. Those records were quietly moved into municipal offices, temple archives, and family records. They essentially became a silent, hidden weapon, passing quietly into the hands of private investigators who were hired by cautious parents wanting to check the bloodlines of their children's potential spouses. Because of those exact paper registers kept in a wooden box 2.5 centuries ago, our characters' descendants continued to suffer. Their marriages were suddenly canceled in 1923. They were denied jobs they were fully qualified for in 1958. Engagements were broken off as late as 1992. Think about that, 1992. The curse our protagonist inherited from his father and passed to his son didn't end at his grave, and it didn't even end with an emperor's decree. It just waited in the paper. And that leaves us with a truly chilling realization. A 4-year-old child in the modern era might still wonder why they are treated differently, completely unaware of a century